everyone, this is Charlotte. This is another podcast where I'm driving in a car when I probably shouldn't be. It's Saturday and we're traveling towards my parents' farm again. It's basically getting jobs done today. Our plan, I'll tell our plan in a minute actually, because I've got to do the disclaimer, haven't I? Alright, let's go. If you've been keeping up, have you been keeping up? There's a disclaimer at the start of this podcast because I do talk about sensitive topics and I do swear a lot. So if you don't want to hear that, then turn it off. Absolutely. This is not a podcast for children, so if my kids or anyone else's kids are listening to this in any way, you're naughty and turn it off, or I'll tell your mum. And if your mum's okay with it, something wrong with your mum. It's like, don't. Way too young for this shit. Right, so, alright, disclaimer out of the way. The project for today is, the goal for today is, if you don't know the story already, my dad's in palliative care at this point. It's the, 15th of March, so it's been about a week he's been in palliative care, maybe a week and a half. We are currently trying to make the house livable for my mum, because both of them are hoarders. They just hoard crap. Some of it's good crap, but a lot of it's just crap. So what my brother, my older sister, my younger sister and I are all doing today is trying to sort out some of that crap to make it more livable for her, because she's got Parkinson's. She can't really move it herself. She shuffles around, but it's not a good thing for her to try and move all this shit. Plus we've got to get like shit from upstairs to downstairs. So we're trying to get all the shit that's hers from upstairs to downstairs, and then hopefully she can, pick a room and sort of do her thing there. And to be honest, it's a bit of a nightmare. So just trying to convince her that it needs to be done. So the topic for today is control. Hence the reason I chose this topic for today. If you've listened to the other podcasts, you'll know that my sisters and my brother and I grew up in a matriarchy. And that was because of many things, besides the fact that it was like a cultural thing. If you're in Irish culture, it's more of a matriarchy than it is a patriarchy. The women don't put up with shit. We have a general disdain for menkind, should we say. One of the famous things that Dylan Moran said is, oh look, the male's trying to do something. It's like, that is the general feel for most males towards men. So I don't know, it's meant in humor, because of course there are still people or men that are capable, obviously, but as a joke, it's a running joke, really. So we grew up in a matriarchy where the women sort of rule the roost and get the jobs done and everything's handled. It's also because, my dad has Peter Pan syndrome. He still has Peter Pan syndrome somewhat, because he's still alive. But, when that happens, we'll know how to change that terminology. Sorry, my music's off. My music's well off. But what she's done is she's raised, and she's had to take control of the situation for the last, 40 years or so, because my dad was just not capable of sort of ruling the roost, essentially, given his Peter Pan syndrome. So she's had control of us and the house and him near enough, hopefully, for his own betterment, for the last 40 odd years. And to be honest, I think she's having trouble letting go. She's raised 4 very capable, very responsible adults. And we're all like, my youngest sister is 38, so we're nearly all 40 and above. We have lived life enough to know what the fuck we need to be doing. And she's having trouble letting go and letting us do our thing. So it was an argument to get her to do anything, basically, including, just reshuffling the house, so we know that, given that she has no upper body strength because of her Parkinson's, that she doesn't just fall down the stairs when we're not there and crack every fucking bone in her body, take a face plant into death's butthole. It's we're trying to help her, but she's having trouble letting us help her, which is, an ongoing concern, because we were raised the same way. We don't ask for help. And when people try and take over, sometimes, even if it's just nice help, it does feel like it's being controlled and manipulated. So, but you have to reason out with her why it's okay that we should be, first of all, getting rid of some of the crap, and then, reshuffling things so it's not such a problem. I mean, the goal for the end of today is to try and, if we can get it all done in one day, is to try and get the house sorted so that she's at least on ground floor and there's no shit to trip over. That's the goal for today, and we want it clean. So I'm going to be chucking a load of shit in my back. This is all, what I'm picking up is stuff that my dad wants me to get rid of online, because I have online stores. It's stuff that he's hoarded over the years and collected, and it was an ongoing thing for a couple of years now, and we discussed it. It's all things like cards and stamps and collectibles, basically. So that's going to be my job for God knows how long, trying to get that up and loaded and shit. Besides that, my brother has to sort out all his war gaming soldiers and books to do with war. My younger sister have to sort out things like the kitchen and expired food. For some reason, my parents hoard food well past the expired date. If it's canned, it's still good, apparently. I'm going, no, because I took some canned goods off you the other day and they were definitely expired when I opened them. But they just, it's the poverty cycle, basically. It's that unwillingness to give anything up, to let it go, because you're afraid you'll miss out, which is why they hoard shit. Even when it's broken, it's a case of, I can fix it later, at some point I'll get a chance to fix it. But it's fucking feral, and now it's a tripping hazard. So I'm not going for the minimalist mindset. Like my ex-husband had the minimalist. He didn't like clutter at all. He didn't like anything. Oh, vintage. Sorry, see, cars. But he didn't like mess, surprisingly, considering he used to make most of it. He didn't like the clutter of a house, essentially. My parents have a habit of going op shopping because we grew up broke. They got used to going op shopping. My mum loved going for trinkets, like teacups and shit like that, and statues and things. So my older sister and my younger sister are going to have to sort that out. And my dad just collects books, magazines, stamps, whatever you can get your hands on, sort of thing. And I swear both of them got ASD themselves, because they do tend to collect a lot. And just hold on to it. And it's an argument to get rid of it, basically. My mum is okay with getting rid of my dad's stuff, basically because she's been arguing with him for the last 40 years about everything. My dad lives a messy life. My mum lives a somewhat cleaner life, but it's still a lot of clutter. So it's been a fight, and she's, that dad's, pretty much on his deathbed in a horrible way. She's more like, okay, let's get some of this stuff sorted so it's not a problem. So she's on board with getting rid of his stuff. So my job for today is sorted, but my older sister and my younger sister are going to have an argument with her about getting rid of her stuff. So I do not envy them. So that's your job. You can deal with her. Yeah, she's already triggering a few things in my younger sister, at least. So it's all right. It's, you know what it is? They're too similar in some ways, and so they just sort of. My sister's very well spoken when it comes to standing up for rights of people and stuff like that, and sticking up for people and starting arguments. She doesn't mind being vocal about her problems. And my mum doesn't like what is not having control over situations. So if you're verbal about the problems, she usually cracks the shits or something, or gets defensive, can't really handle opposition. And that's because she's had the control for, over 4 decades now. Just because my dad refused to sort of take the lead, and when he was controlling, it was over shit that wasn't useful. So he is controlling over things like politics and religion. It wasn't really useful in the day-to-day running of the household and trying to keep the ship running. It was a bit pointless, really. It created more problems than it did good. Get out my way, dude, I'm coming in. Thank you. But, his version of his masculinity, I think, was a case of dominate, but also he was incredibly secretive. So a lot of the shit that he did in the background, we just didn't know about at the time. I'm not entirely sure what the story is right now, but given what's coming inevitably over the next couple of days, possibly, considering he's given up eating and drinking at this point, so he's definitely the last leg of whatever he passing through. We might find out some stuff, I don't know. But he's a very secretive man, and he was also very controlling in the terms of, you have to do what I say because I am the father figure, but he never really held with the responsibilities of the father figure. He was an emperor in reverse. He had kids, but he was over controlling and domineering when it came to how they should think and feel and stuff like that, and if they should think and feel. When it came to contributing financially to the situation or offering moral support, emotional support to his kids, he just didn't. His thing was, I'm the breadwinner, that's my role in this setup. I bring money to it, and that's my job. And even then, he didn't really do that consistently. So it was a bit of a fuck fight when it came to him being a father figure. Now that we're all older, we kind of recognize that, and we're like, that's just that guy. It's a bit past trying to heal that bridge, basically. So we kind of got over it to a degree and got on with it. So now my brother is the polar opposite of what he was growing up, what he was as a father, which is great. So, you have choices. You can either become the people that have done things to you, or you can choose to go the other way and choose to be better than, or to do better. Now that you know better and what it feels like, you can do better. Which is also what my older sister, I think, went when she became a mum. She went the other way. Because my mum, her method is authoritarian. Not authoritative in that you know a lot of information, you can help people. Authoritarian in that, it's my way or the highway. You do what I say or you get hit. Absolute control. And absolute control or absolute power corrupts absolutely. So there's no point trying to seek out control, because in that sense, because it just builds insurrection. People will rebel. Our upbringing was not the product of, or the intended product of, her parenting methods. It was a reaction to it. So when I was talking about the previous things, the way we turned out in the other podcast before this one, we were talking about how we became ourselves because of the way we reacted to the stimulus of her parenting method, which is hit it until it complies. It doesn't need rights, just get on with it. Who needs rights? Rights of the child. And the rights of the child I only found about later on in life, and I started doing teaching, so I'm like, fucker. Why would you do that? It's the parenting method was, you are a child, I am an adult, you do what I say, there are no questions. Questions are a problem, and the problem will be removed. Stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. Or, one of her favorite ones is, I brought you into this world, I'll take you out of it. It's like, that's not a nurturing thing to tell a child. Death threats to a child are not the way forward. But, she just did not have time for anyone's shit. Or the patience for it. She still doesn't have time or patience for it at this point. So what she was parenting as, basically, was hit it till it complies. If it doesn't comply, hit it harder. Or start taking shit away from it. So, when she found out I had a boyfriend at 15, she went through and she took all my stuff that made me a girl, essentially. All my, think about gender roles, what makes girly girls. She went in my bedroom and just took all my girly girl stuff out. So by 15, 16, this was just a puppy love crush. It wasn't an actual boyfriend. We weren't doing anything. We were just holding hands. But she found out about it and just essentially ripped out my femininity. Just completely invalidated an essential part of my identity formation, hitting puberty and then having it forcibly removed. So, because she was pissed off that I was trying to make a connection with someone else. It's the control. She didn't want me to, her excuse was, I don't want you to fuck up your school. But the way she did it was incredibly aggressive and violent. And it just ripped out a part of me that I needed to understand who I was as a person and as a woman becoming, should we say. It made me angry. It made me a very angry woman. And I'd spent the next couple of years trying to reform it in a way that made sense. Because in my head, as an ADHD person, if someone removes part of you, it's because they're probably right in doing it, right? So you start questioning, what about what I was doing was wrong, that it needed to be removed. Of course, she didn't understand at the time, and I didn't understand at the time, but then you spend the next couple of years feeling like you've got no real identity, and you don't know who really you are, even though you're developing as a physical woman. My boobs took forever. It's like, what the hold on? So damn genetics. But I was a late bloomer, which helped. If I had been an early bloomer, my boobs would have kicked in and I would have gone right. To get male attention is the valid and important thing. The fact that she removed my sense of gender, if you want to use gender, it's biological sex I use, I don't see gender. But all the things we attribute to that particular sex, she had removed it. And she'd raised us pretty neutral, or me pretty neutral. I was a tomboy growing up. Back before everybody went into non-binary shit. It was like, before that there were tomboys. Not necessarily on their way to becoming lesbians as was the big threat, but generally it's like, just I like guy stuff because I'm pretty guyish. It is a spectrum. I hero worship my brother, so that made it easier because he was my go-to person for hanging out, and he still is to a degree, even though he's busy with his family. But at the same time, it's like having control of someone telling you who you are at what point, particularly fundamental parts in your development, that can really fuck you up as an adult. So now when people try to control me, and that's just one instance, when people try to control me, I will no. I mean, and that also kicks in with my ex-husband, who was a controlling fucker. And then the ex-boyfriend that came afterwards, he tried to do the same shit. I'm going, I'm not going to fucking control me. So it's been a lot of anti-role models growing up, where you come to learn who the fuck you are. So for me, control is not necessarily a good thing, unless of course you're talking about self-control. And you should have self-control, because ultimately the only thing you can actually understand is yourself. You can never actually see what's coming from the other person's perspective, because you haven't lived that life, you haven't walked that path. So in order to, if you're going to try and control them, it's not going to work. Which is why I get pissed off when people are in relationships as well. Like, I was in a marriage where he customized me. Pretty much, he told me what I was allowed to wear, didn't like makeup, didn't like me going out on my own, didn't like me going out at night. I mean, some of it was safety, of course, because for some reason the male species decided to collectively be assholes. Even though we like them, they make us not want to like them. Strangely. But we like it. No, I'm going to be mean. It's like, it sucks. It's a strange setup at this point. It's becoming more apparent now that people are starting to speak up about their experiences. That everything's not as, stable on the home front between the sexes, which I find irritating, because we do need each other. There is a need there. I mean, everybody's going all independent and I don't need anyone and all that shit, but we do need each other. That's a given. Otherwise we wouldn't be put on this earth together. One of us would have died out, which seems to be the way that a lot of people are going these days, trying to get rid of females for some reason, even though you undermine your own species in the process. So self-sabotage on a grandiose scale. Why do you want to kill out your species? Burn out your species? I don't know. It's very odd. Anyway, that's a conversation in itself. Let's get back to the control situation. So my mum's had to let go of the reins for a bit. Some of it she didn't really have a choice, because like my brother and my younger sister have been signed over to power of attorney, but the thing is, she needs to let go. She's 67 now? I think it's 67. She was born in 57, so I don't know, something like that. My maths is off as well, it's the weekend. So she's trying to get her shit together. I don't think she's going to be alright on her own. And I'm worried about that much. So if we can at least simplify the house and the living conditions she's in, maybe she can start reformulating what her life could be like if she, chose to let it be that way, now that she doesn't have the liability of my dad making busy work, as far as I can remember growing up. A lot of her job was fixing his fuck-ups, so raising 4 kids. So the problem is she has trouble letting go, so she's still trying to control us kids as adults, but this time instead of using violence, she's using guilt. And it just doesn't work, because it's not there. We don't feel the guilt of it. Maybe my older brother does, but at the same time it's like, we're here to do a job. If you don't sit the fuck down, and I mean sit the fuck down because right now you're in the way, we're just going to run over you. Because the job needs doing, and it's for her own good. And she needs to recognize that when this is done, she will be very, very comfortable, very looked after, and just in a state of ease if she would just fucking sit down and unclench, you know? But that's just my particular experience I'm facing right now. In a sense, if you're talking about in sociological terms, control is philosophically an illusion. It only exists with the consent of the individuals who are participating in it. I've been looking at the news recently, and they've got some technological advancements in implanting chips into brains for mind control, a sort of Manchurian Candidate kind of thing going on. But that was more like behavioral conditioning through exposure, the Manchurian Candidate. I don't know if you've seen the movie maybe or read the stories. But the Manchurian Candidate is about someone who's coerced basically into, I think, shooting someone or something like that as soldiers while tripping on LSD or something like that. They were conditioned to target particular individuals who are deemed not right for their position. I think it's some kind of a trained assassin thing. I've got to go back and reread it. It's been a while. But it's mind control. It's behavioral, cognitive behavioral therapy at its worst, basically, because that's not the reason why it was invented. Once again, someone has taken what could have been a good thing and weaponized it. Why do we do these things? But they're talking about putting chips in people's brains to help with, first of all, healing things like epilepsy. Maybe it will send out a pulse, kind of like a pacemaker for a brain, where it'll stop people having seizures, which is good. That's good. But then, of course, some idiot's going to weaponize it and try and make them into soldiers, aren't they? Terminators or some shit like that. So dumb. Of course, that's going to melt their brain, and they won't be able to operate as humans, because electronics, in that sense, and the human condition as a physical, biological thing, doesn't mix. It's like mixing water with electricity. It doesn't work. It'll melt the brain and fuck the body. It's like, you know, see, they're going, oh, these guys with all these great ideas, but none of them are fucking practical, really. You gotta fry people's brains. We're creating an ultimate soldier. It's like you're going to create vegetables in the field. All it takes is one, what do they call them, disruptors, the electrical signal, what they use on planes and things, which is a whole different story. I'm watching the planes right now, and there's a lot of plane crashes that don't make sense, but, you know, Trump's blaming DEI hires. I'm like, I'm blaming signal Germans. So I'm going, someone's fucking with that. There's a lot of planes going down, like, that were never really reported before. It's very strange. But all you need is like a signal jammer on those mind-chipped people, and it will vegetate them. It's not going to free them. They'll be vegetated. They'll be so hooked into a system where they can't actually operate, because it'll fuck up their own natural synapses. So I don't know why you would want to put chips into people. In that sense, it's risky. So they're really going to have to work on how they're going to develop that technology. But again, that's only ever controlled through coercion as well. The chip itself needs to convince the rest of the vessel, the body, that it's worth doing these things. And we've seen things like organ rejection. So who's to say these bodies are going to accept chips in them? So it's a very interesting thing to look at if you want to go into greater depth. Someone obviously is going to say it better than me, because I'm not a scientist in that way. I've just been looking at bloody posts online going, oh, that could work for this, but oh yeah, they're going to do this with it. It's like, it's the same with those robo-dogs. I'm going, oh yeah, for removing bombs and stuff. Oh yeah, they're going to stick a gun on it. Yeah, you're assholes. It's like, why do you guys keep doing this shit? We created a cure for malaria. Oh, but we're using it to create zombies. Like, what the fuck? What is wrong with you people? All these good things that humans do always get shat on by someone. It's like, who is giving these shitty ideas? You're meant to be propelling the species forward, not shitting on it from a distance. But yeah, I watch out for these things, and they're interesting to watch. But again, even then, it's coercive control. It's an illusion. It's not absolute control. Oh, sorry, I am a fucking mess today. I've literally just done a full week's work and now I'm driving an hour and a half that way. I'm going, I am a fucking mess. I haven't had time to schedule anything. It's just hit it and run. The control, it's like you talk about in political terms. First of all, and I don't know if I'm becoming a conspiracy theorist at this point because there's so much evidence to support the conspiracies. I'm going, it's like people are saying weird shit about the back rooms about what's going on politically with many different places, and then you actually suddenly see things pop up to provide evidence to these occurring. You go, oh shit. It's like, hey, so that's really what we need. It's like we need to start questioning the conspiracies because they're a potential. I'm not saying take it as gospel, but you know, if you can find evidence, fuck yeah, show it on. I want to see the real thing. But it's the evidence we need. So, you know, people who are into conspiracy theories get such a bad rap only because there's no evidence to support their claims. So find the evidence. I'm more interested in what's going to happen with Bigfoot. I was like, I want to be Bigfoot. I saw Harry and the Hendersons. I know it's going to be hilarious. No, you know, control is an illusion at this point. It only exists because it consists of the masses. I've talked about the chessboard analogy where, you know, these kings and queens, these self-made kings and queens, politically, if you're going that way in terms of democracy, they got rid of the principalities. They removed themselves from these divinely ordained groups of people that controlled mainly the wealth and the people, and then telling everyone, the masses, that they're going to do something better or something new, and then took on the same format and called themselves something else. It's the same sense of power and wealth, but also with a different name, even though they're doing the same things. So I find that very interesting. For example, you had King Charles. You call him king, I don't call him king. He didn't act like a prince. I don't think he should be a king. He didn't act like a prince. You got to upgrade that shit. You don't just take on the role because you're born into it. But no. And he's shown that he hasn't been a prince. It's a role defined by action, not by accident of birth. But, you know, he's meeting up with, what was he meeting up with? Zelensky the other day, and Trump. And because of Magna Carta, for, you know, they're not allowed to get political, but it does send a big political statement to whoever's watching. If it was Putin, for example, and that's become a grey area, Trump and Putin, right? It would say a statement. If things were, they were opposing forces and not forming alliances, which is a very questionable thing at this point, it would look like a bad thing. It would look like he's choosing sides. It would look like he has a political voice just in meeting up with these people because he's invited those two and not Putin. So, you know, you've got to be very fucking careful. They say one thing, but they do another. It looks like he's taking sides with Zelensky and Trump. Although Zelensky and Trump are being arseholes. Now, what I want to know is, given the evidence of the spider letters, which were, they're deemed spider letters because of his crappy handwriting. It's like, we've all got it. But what he had done is he had written letters to the government at the time as a prince, trying to influence policy at that point. Now, Magna Carta, which is only relative to those who are the head job at the moment, so the king or the queen, it only affects them really. But members of the royal family are not allowed to get involved in politics or kind of sway things in their favor. They're supposed to be separate from it because that's what the whole point of the government is to govern the people. They might express an interest in what could happen, but ultimately it's the people who decide. That's it. Hands off, motherfucker. Because I step back. This isn't your job. So they become sort of like an ornate figurehead, a representative of the country and the culture and the religion to some degree. Although he's not even Church of England, so it's like, it seems very contradictory in his existence. He represents things that he doesn't actually represent, and then he interferes with things that he shouldn't have a part in. You know, it seems odd for him to operate this way, but people seem to be accepting it because he's done enough PR stunts to make it look good. I question it. I'm going, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. But he's not allowed to get involved in politics. Now, as a king, he's been given the position of king. It's like, what is he saying to these two parties? Or what is he doing behind the curtain that is affecting these two parties? It's like, why does this one person who's meant to be neutral in this, who's meant to be a pragmatist in this, as the Queen was, what is he doing to affect this situation? Because he's not supposed to be involved at all. And now he's meeting up with two world leaders. What are they going to discuss? What they're having for dinner tonight? It's like, no. They're going to discuss things. And they're going to be influenced by his biased account. Now, everybody's got a biased account of what is happening. No one is entirely impartial to the events that are occurring. At what point is he going to have some control over what is happening, or some influence? What is happening with Ukraine and America? What is that about? That's a bad use of control. That is an exploitation of position, particularly when he's told the masses that he is immune to it. He's not supposed to get involved in it. He's neutral. He's Switzerland, essentially. But then again, even Switzerland at this point is not Switzerland, you know? I have a problem with that side of the politics of it. It's a lot of people saying that they do one thing but lying about doing it. You're lying. We know you're talking. We know you're influencing. Because you couldn't handle not interfering as a prince. What the fuck makes you think that you're going to not do it as a king? That's what pisses me off. I'm going, don't say that you're one thing and then do another thing. That sleight of hand gives me the shits. So either you're immune to it and you stay out of it, or you take control and you get going with it. Don't piss fart around. It's like, and if you are trying to pull strings behind the curtain, at least be open about it. Because you know, you used to have in the feudal system, the kings actually did some good. They might have sent people to war, but at the same time, like Queen Elizabeth I, you saw her economy growing through different influences she had across global connections, and with her own internal operations. You saw wealth increasing when she was handed her kingdom from Henry VIII after Mary. It was impoverished. She grew it back. Women are good at that. Redecorating, I hate it. Get rid of it. Remake it. But she was open about the control she had over the system, about the people. And Magna Carta only came about because of Cromwell was the first. And the exploitation of the people in order to fund wars and lavish lifestyles, and how he had absolute control over his government to the point where the people didn't have a voice. And that's how you got sort of representation of the church as well included in that, because at the time Charles I was considered, as many were before him, to be a representative of the divine. It's the God's will, and only God, not goddess, I noticed, to enact these laws in order for this to happen. It's like, God told me that this has to happen, and so I control the people this way. And the people are like, oh yeah, it's from God. Let's go with it. There were some rebellions, but not as many as there are people questioning these days. What the fuck are you doing? So he was meant to represent the church, and the church was meant to be the moral compass of the people. Whether it was or wasn't at the time, we don't know, because there's been a lot of evidence to suggest otherwise. And that's not just because it's a representation of the divine and religion as all hoo-hoo. It was a select group of people that operated in their own interests, obviously, as anyone would. It doesn't have to be religion-based. It could be government-based. It could be fucking workplace-based, social group-based. People will operate under their own motives. That's not to say religion is bad. Some people like the training wheels. Some people prefer it because it gives them absolutes to work with, confines which seem to be workable. And so they live that particular lifestyle. I haven't picked a religion myself because I like a lot of the aspects. I'm omnipotent. Is it omniscient where you like a lot of religions? But I cannot accept the absolute confines of all of them, or any of them. So I will see bits that I like and I'll go, that makes sense. So we'll take all those bits, but then I'll see bits I don't like genital mutilation and stuff like that, and I'll go, well, that's fucked, we're not doing that. So in that way, I can't absolutely invest myself in a religion because it doesn't make sense to accept some things but not others, and still claim to be that kind of person. a Jew, one of the 12 tribes of Israel kind of Jew. So it's a big discussion, which has a lot of umbrella effect and ripple effect. If you want to go into control and sense of religious terms, I don't like the idea of controlling the masses through organized religion and stuff like that. But that's not to say it is a bad thing. It is down to the individual to choose what they participate in. And no one should fucking try to, well, you can try and convince them, I guess. You can have a solid conversation, but ultimately belief is an internal thing. What you believe is your own. It's one of the very few things we've got that is singly our own. If you choose to ascribe to a religion, for example, or a political party, or a football team, that is based on your own beliefs. It should not be influenced by other people. It's like you have to take accountability for your own beliefs and actions in those beliefs. Don't say that someone coerced me into it. You did this. If it's a good thing, then yay, we're winning. If it's a bad thing, and you use this as a vehicle to control or try to control or negatively affect others, then that's on you, bitch. It's like, I don't like people who shit on the church collectively because of bad priests. Okay, we've all heard the stories about pedophile priests. I don't agree with pedophilia at all. I've got very strong views on it. And basically the individual doesn't make it out of there alive. So it's like, I don't like that. It is a harm. There is no excuse for it. I do think it's a mental dysfunction. Because even in biological terms, it doesn't make sense to be attracted to children. It's not right. It doesn't match. They're not biologically fertile. They're not physically able. So it doesn't make sense to do that. Plus it's fucking horrendous and it hurts the baby, the child. So I have very strong views about what should happen to those people, but that's different. But at the same time, people are pissed off with like the Catholic Church because they hit these priests who are hurting the kids. I don't have a problem with Catholicism. I have a problem with things like the secrecy that they seem to be sworn to. That claims to protect people who have physically, individuals, not the collective, individuals who have physically hurt children. I cannot agree with that. I will not paint the whole belief religion system with the same brush because I know it's down to the actions of an individual. Now that actually does spread to accountability for the actions of the individuals who hit them, who used it as a vehicle to hide the pain and suffering of children. I can't excuse that. So those individuals need to take accountability for their actions as well and to face judgment for it. If you are a priest who has done nothing fucking wrong, who does believe in the belief system, that's fine. You're fine. It's the individuals. And that could be anything. You've got a whole bunch of Hollywood people right now who are pedophiles. And you could say that Hollywood is like a religion. It's a very hedonist religion where all like P. Diddy's parties and stuff like that. And some weird shit going on there. It's a very much cult-like thing. Cult of personality. But again, it's the actions of the individual and those who harbored them. It's not a case of paint them all with the same brush because not all of them did anything. Not all of them did anything in relation to any of them. There were some very innocent people that were just there to get maybe famous, get some money together, and get the fuck out. It's not everyone. Not all of Hollywood are pedophiles. Not all of them are out to murder people or from your own people. So it's in their best interest not to be negatively controlling. You could make up guidelines and rules for people to follow. That's why we have laws. The laws are meant to protect the people, not just the individual who's committing crimes. Even when you commit a crime, there's some laws and things that stand in the way of you getting, just shot in the face and going, fuck it, Judge Dredd style. I love that movie. With Sylvester Stallone, I love that movie. But, even the criminals are protected in that right. You can't just outright shoot them. You have to, ask them questions, give them their rights, verbalize their rights, even when you arrest and things like that. The laws are there to protect the many. So when people get suspicious about the government, it's a two-factor thing. Some of it is good, some of it's bad. But at the same time, if you want to belong to that particular society or cultural setup, you're going to have to accept that some things are good and some things are bad. Now, what we should be doing is trying to minimize or remove the bad, is what it is. But people look at the government on the whole and say, all of it's shit, get rid of it. And they say, oh, anarchy is great. It's like, fucking it's not. You've never seen anarchy. You've just never... They glorify it, and you don't know what do you think? You're going to be fucking Chuck Norris in this? You're going to survive some kind of Mad Max scenario? You 40-year-old morbidly obese bastard? It's like, what do you think's going to happen? It's all, it pisses me off. You get these assholes that say, fuck the government, and it needs to be broken down and stuff like that. It's like, first of all, there would be more people dying if the government did go down. You'll think it's such a negative thing. Parts of it are negative, and those things need to be cleaned out, obviously, but collapse the whole system. Anarchy is a lot like war. It's not going to be good. It's painful. People die. People get injured. People get sick more. It's not good. They think get rid of it because it's broken. It's very slash and burn way of dealing with things. It's not good. The first ones will be the vulnerable. And then you'll have like the alpha bros trying to dominate. There will be so many factions trying to take control of the situation, it won't even work out for them, because the first ones will go, well, those will be the vulnerable, and then it'll be like the ones who live and die by the sword, because everything's a fucking fight. It'll be ridiculous. If you didn't get taken out by violence, you get taken out by disease. Stop doing that. Stop deharmonizing things. What we need to do is fix the system, tweak it if you must, but a complete collapse, no, don't be fucking stupid. It's got all these people that think the government's too controlling, we need to take it over and collapse and all this shit. They also don't have a plan about what it should be afterwards. And I tell you what, there is always a vacuum after conflict, which some asshole's going to try and fill with their own fucking story. I need to be the top leader, top G. Fuck you, Tate. And it's built on narcissism. It will be an asshole who will try and take the lead, who will just fuck everyone again. And that's what happened with the Biden getting kicked out. I mean, both leaders were useless. We know. But one of them was malignant and one of them was fucking benign. And the malignant one won and then started fucking everyone up. It's like you actively voted in this cancerous person. Weird analogies. And then started wondering why everything was spreading and breaking down. Because you applied the problem to an already weakened system. You're asking for trouble. So I'm hedging bets on how long that shit's gonna last. And the ripple effect will be felt globally, because we are not an isolated country. None of us are isolated anymore, because we've got those cross-global trade links, globalization, cross-communication. We're heavily reliant on each other, and it should be a good thing, alliances. But when one person or several people stand up and try and be assholes, make it about them instead of the people, it becomes a real fucking problem, not just in that country, but on a global scale. And we saw that through history so many fucking times. egomaniacs taking over and trying to make it about them and how fucking wonderful they are and what am I doing for this country and I'm so great. You sit there and think, you gotta be humble, dude. You are not that great. You are maybe 2 or 3 years off from just shitting your pants and dying. Why are you doing this now? And they're doing it now because they're in a bucket list situation. They know they haven't got a limited time and they just don't care about the ripple effect. So that's control done negatively. Obviously, nobody wants that kind of shit. Nobody wants to be hurt and homeless and having to fight for resources on domestic soil because their government fucked up again. Nobody wants that. So you could talk about like a conflict theory where you've got two parties, maybe yin and yang, constantly fighting. Yin and yang is about harmonizing, but conflict theory is about those two groups of people constantly fighting for dominance. At the moment, if you want to talk in political terms, with Trump, and he's conservative, supposedly, although he hasn't lived a conservative lifestyle, I've noticed. He's very liberal with his dick, I hear. Ew. Ew. But he's, you know, but he's also against liberalism, which was Biden's party. I'm sure there's more than two parties, but these are the dominant ones. What's through the vote, if it was a legit vote, now I'm still skeptical about that being rigged, because if the Russians can do it, and Trump likes the Russians so much that he starts replicating their behaviors, chances are, I feel that might have been rigged. I don't believe that was a legit thing. Plus they got a weird swing state situation going on, which is completely not equal or democratic, where some states have a greater voting power than others. It just doesn't make sense. It's not equality. Not at all. It's actually quite biased in the form of some particular political motives. So if you're like make petrol or something like technology or something, you have a greater, stronger vote than anyone who lives in a state where they don't have access to creating something. So the thing is, if you're willing to fund the economy, you get a stronger vote than those who don't fund the economy. That's the theory. Business owners, supposedly. But at the same time, it's bordering on privatization of the voting system in itself. If they've got a stronger vote that overrides the more people but a weaker vote. So it just doesn't make sense that way. It's like you're already heading into privatization that way. And what with Trump trying to get millionaires into the country with gold cards, it's like you are trying to be an oligarch country, but you're trying to make it look good while you do it with your fake tan and your bleached veneers. We saw this with JFK. We know what happened to JFK. But, you know, some dumb shit going on. History is repeating itself, and I'm just waiting for the drop, essentially. Well, that was my phone then. But the thing is like, you're still trying to control the situation, and it only exists because the people allow it. This feels to me very French Revolution. And I cannot put my finger on why. It's because they were worried about a civil war occurring. But I'm sitting there going, it doesn't feel very civil war-y. It feels French Revolutionary, you know. At the moment, you've got the top tier of people, the billionaires and everything, who are trying to become the controlling party of politics. So, I mean, that's happened a lot in America with the Rothschilds and things like that. But they weren't so unashamedly open about, you know, and prideful. It was often, even though in those times, like the Rothschilds started up libraries and stuff like that, and healthcare and stuff, they poured into the system rather than just hoarding it to control people's, or attempt to control people's politics and stuff like that. There was always a sense of giving back to, it's the reason we've got things like libraries and hospitals and with all the Rothschilds named on it and stuff like that. It's a really good documentary if you want to go look for them, that family line. Sometimes they do the right things, people, with money. At the same time, it feels like a strong sense of greed that's being held over the people. Now, we've already seen Elon Musk's stocks drop trying to endorse it by buying one. I'm sitting there going, you haven't got the reputation or credibility to sway the masses that way. He's hoping that if Trump bought one, then more people will go and buy a Tesla or some shit like, because Trump's got one, right? It doesn't work that way. Everyone thinks Trump's an idiot. It's like, we don't condone your political actions. Why would we want to be like you? At the same time, there was another one like it, where he was trying to bag someone else in it as well. I think it was Musk trying to do it as well. It was recently. I'm trying to remember now. It was someone, Obama, to endorse Doge. He had a snippet of what Obama was saying about Doge something like 10 years ago. Now, this is before Musk started doing dumb shit. But he brought it back recently to show people that even Obama supports Doge. I'm going, Obama doesn't think much of your mutated version of what Doge is, or Dogecoin, or whatever the fuck it is. I always thought Obama was quite level-headed when it comes to that shit. He really didn't like NFTs either, which was funny. So why would he support ETFs? But at the same time, it's that constant trying to manipulate people which is coercion, into siding with them by pulling in other people. You've got to start thinking for yourself. Now, why would he? And they don't like critical thinking. They don't like you questioning shit from different perspectives and analyzing stuff, because they just want you to be, passive consumers and to hand over the reins of control and just let shit happen, even if it's against your own good. But it's strange. It's like you haven't got any grounding on your own merit, basically, not something they've earned themselves. People see Musk's money and they deify him, because obviously he's got that money for a reason, right? God gave him that money, so he must be good at something, which is why you get so many things like mega churches. People trying to buy their way into heaven. So if I give it more money, that makes me good. It's like, therefore I support this cause and I will keep going and God will let me into heaven. It's like, God doesn't give a fuck about your money. He's looking at what you do in the 3D. He doesn't give a fuck about your money. He doesn't give a fuck if you're poor. What are you doing while you're poor? Are you being good? Are you doing the right thing? Are you helping people? Because ultimately helping people is free. It's free. Which is why there is such a weight on all these millionaires, billionaires, because you've been given the funds to help so many. Why aren't you helping them? Instead, you're making dick profits. It's a strange setup. They're given the funds to do so much good, and yet they hoard it for the sake of ego and saying, I'm better than everyone because I've hoarded this so much. So you find like politicians, by trying to control resources, which they don't really have control over, to be honest. We've just watched Musk lose billions, which is interesting. By trying to control resources to create demigods in themselves, because it perpetuates the system. It's a feedback cycle. They make some money off of Emerald Mines. They didn't make money, he was given it. They're given money. They make it slightly better. People see that and go, I like that. You must be doing something right. I'll give you more money for this cause. And it's all a fucking lie, because then they just build up more resources, hoard them more, garner more support from the people who think this is such a great thing, a good thing. And ultimately, are they helping the people below? No. They're just hoarding the money. You can't take money with you. It goes nowhere. It might go to the next generation, but at the same time, have you conditioned your next generation to deal with the response from the people when they realize that the money that this person has hoarded is not coming back to help them? That's why I don't like the cult of celebrity at this point, because we create a lot of billionaires who wouldn't look twice at you in the street if you were homeless. They just don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. Do you have $20 for my new CD? No, then fuck off. I don't care. It's weird. We create false gods that won't help us by giving these people money and power. That's what bugs me. Meanwhile, you will find if you are broke and you are around other broke people, there is more of an inclination to help each other. I found, at least growing up broke, that we shared everything, we recycled everything. If we didn't need it, we passed it on to the next person. There is more honor in people that don't have money than there is in people who do. but most of in terms of an honor system, there's greater honor amongst people who don't have the money to cover up lies and bullshit, and bad acts and things they've done. So, you know, I'm skeptical of rich people at this point, because I just don't see, there's no transparency, because they can always pay someone off. So I don't like that control. I could go on for hours about that. But ultimately, if you're looking at it as an individual, I'm going to speed up with this, because what are we on? 45? Something like that. I'm nearly there. If you're looking at it as an individual, you should always be questioning what sense of control there is. And ultimately, the only thing you have control of is yourself. Because external control is an illusion. It's only there if you choose to participate in the system creating it. If you choose to protest a system, maybe you have some influence on the system, but you don't have a choice to control it. It takes a hell of a lot of people to overturn a system that is corrupt, for example. It has to be everyone who's included, because if there are people who are not included, you could plead neutrality. If you want to be a pragmatist and just say, either way I don't particularly care, carry on, then maybe you've got some community to do it. But at the same time, you've got to get a large group of people on board to change the system. Kind of like the Lorax. If no one says anything, nothing will. What was the statement the Lorax says? If no one cares, they'll never change. I gotta Google it. Google the Lorax. Something about change. But that's what came to mind. It's like, if people aren't on board to change it, then it's not going to change. Which is sad, because at the moment there's a lot of things happening that are people seeking control over individuals in order to do things that are against their best interests. And it doesn't make sense. So I think I'm going to leave that one there. Let's move on to something else. We're done politics. I could do politics till the cows go home. It's all rhetoric bullshit anyway. Control, self-control. So let's focus on self-control. What is it about us that we can control ourselves? In terms of finance, your beliefs are represented in the purchases you make and what you do with your finance. I don't eat meat. I don't buy meat. I do buy meat for my dog, but I don't buy it for myself, and it reflects my beliefs that I don't think animals should be harmed for humans to consume. It's different for animals, because animals are animals. Animals eat animals. If they're out in the wild, they'd still be eating a chicken. If chickens were out in the wild, it's like I would not have any kind of influence on that. But in the wild, humans don't need to eat animals, because we can eat vegetables. We're omnivorous. What is going on with these people? So, you know, I have a problem with that. I buy, you know, secondhand clothes and things because I don't like waste. And it's also more cost effective. I know that if I went out and bought things off the peg, given the cost of living crisis at the moment, firstly I would run out of money, and secondly there'd be a lot of waste, because what tends to be produced at the moment is mass produced, and it just disintegrates in a very short period of time. Like the shoes I'm wearing at the moment are from just like what's that, spend less. I've only been wearing them since January. It's now March already. They're starting to see wear on them, and I'm sitting there thinking, these things are not made quality anymore. They're not made to last anymore. So if I bought them even from a name brand place, they still wouldn't last, because it's just not in the business's interest to create products that last, because you can't sell more. If they are good after a year or 2 years or something, and you can find them in an op shop, it's probably a better option than going back to the high-end retail places and trying to buy another pair, because they look slightly better. And if you can fix it up yourself, it's probably best as well. Because again, waste is not good. It is bad. It creates problems. When I was a kid, I used to, you know, pretty much wear shoes to death. So I used to kick them to death. Only when there were holes in them did I know, right, it's probably time for a new pair. It was not a case of, oh, I'm bored, that it's still usable, that it hasn't ended its life yet, it should be passed on to help someone else. People of lower money amount, for example. Or maybe we should just normalize reusing stuff if we don't want it anymore and just pass it on to someone else. At the moment, Tesco's is giving away free food, which I like a lot. I like that a lot. I know. Dumb and Dumber. But they put a barcode on the goods that are just about to expire. It's yellow now. I'm not in England, by the way, I'm in Australia. But I'm watching. I'm always watching. And they've made the food free, so you scan the barcode. Rather than going dumpster diving, you just scan the barcode, it's a yellow barcode, and you get it for free. I like that. I don't like waste. I really don't. I've been living in a situation for the last 40 years where waste is just an evil at this point. So, you know, self-control of removing waste from the situation is probably one of the best things you can do. And in nature, nothing's ever wasted, so it's never wasted. So we should kind of try and mimic that kind of lifestyle, sustainable lifestyle. But again, it's the businesses trying to control you, to tell you that you need the new stuff and you should buy the new stuff every 6 months, 3 months. That's how you run out of money. And that's how you end up with a shitload of waste. Because in that sense, businesses trying to grow themselves can be controlling, or attempt to be controlling, but you have a choice in that as well. You've got free will. You can say, no, I'm not going to buy that. I'm not going to feed this monster, this machine. Or if I will, it'll be under my conditions. I'll buy them when I need them, not when I want them. Don't feed the machine. Rage Against the Machine, though. I love that song too. I'll have the band. But you have a semblance of autonomy in this situation, regardless of whatever situation you find yourself in. You're never wholly controlled. You always have self control. You always have a say in what happens, even if you are coerced to let it happen. Turning back on my mum at this point, she has a choice in what we do. At the moment, I'm going to create a list of things that she needs to do, and she will say whether she does them or not. But it's the inability to relax and let good stuff happen that really fucks people in the end, because they're always skeptical, and I don't blame her of whether this stuff is good or not. At the moment, she's worried that we're going to be sticking her in an old person home. Now, I don't like old people homes, because I've heard a lot of stories about how they're not good for people. There's neglect, there's all kinds of health issues, there's sus stuff going on, so I really would like an investigation of those. So definitely, no, I'm not going to stick her in that, but the thing is, we're worried that she will fall down the stairs and kill herself, essentially. Bob, my dead granddad, died tripping over a blanket and smacking his head on the floor, possibly while having a heart attack, but he died that way, and we found him 2-3 days later. Now, we don't want that to happen to our mum. As complicated as the relationship is, it's not a nice way to go. And particularly given the height of the stairs that she wants to, her bedroom's upstairs, and the height, it's going to hurt all the way down, so we don't want that. But she's going to have to let go a bit and let us do our thing. And she's having trouble with it. I don't know if it's a boomer generation thing, or if it's a parental thing, or if it's I don't know, or it's a fear of something going wrong. But honestly, if we can just lay it out for her and make it easier for her, that's what we're aiming for. It's not a sense to control her. We did say at the start, you've got a farm, it's too big, you're pushing 70, it's time to let it go, because we don't want it, just get rid of it, sort of thing. We did say that, but her mindset was, oh, they're trying to put me in an old people's home. It's like, no, you're pushing 70, no one should be doing farm work at 70. We retire at 60 in corporate jobs, right? It's like, because that's a mind stress. But yeah, it's convincing someone who has had control for the last 40 years of us that our ideas are valid, always a challenge as well with this particular arrangement, and that it could actually work to her benefit. So we're having to very carefully walk around things and point out, and we're trying to convince her that it's okay. So at the moment, we've got her on board that we're moving all her stuff from upstairs to downstairs. We're not selling the farm, although it's going to be a lot of work, but we're also trying to find people to help her during the week, because we're not there during the week. We work an hour and a half away, and live an hour and a half away. But it's putting things in position where she has some control of herself and possibly the environment around her, whilst not trying to piss her off and walk into another fucking argument. So yeah, but she has to meet us halfway and to realize this is in her benefit. We're trying to help. It's a lot of work at her age to run a farm anyway, even on her own, even when she did have dad helping, if dad helped. It's convincing to see otherwise, which is going to be the problem. Oh God, it's something with that generation. They're just hard-headed. Is it that generation, or is that every generation's response to finding someone who's older than them with conflicting ideas? I don't know. So why can't you see the logic in this situation? It's too much. You don't have to sell it, but we do need to simplify it. This is insane. And we definitely wouldn't put her in an old people home anyway. It's toxic as fuck. No. My idea was get her like a little bungalow or something, like her own little 2-bedroom house in town. Get rid of the farm, because it's too much work to keep the gardens and everything running, and the farm itself running. And just give her a nice little garden. So it's just her. You downsize. It's what we should be doing, to be honest. You've got a bunch of boomers that are holding onto these 4-bedroom apartments and houses and shit. No one can buy a house because they're holding on to them, even though they're living there alone. It doesn't make sense. I'm keeping it in case the kids come around, or I'm holding on to it because it keeps appreciating in value. So that's just greed. We have families now that need houses, and you're holding on to the houses. We can't get to them because the only off chance that it might get better. And what it's doing is causing a housing crisis, and a lot of angry people that are trying to have families and have to put their whole life on hold because they can't find the property, which is actually quite responsible, really, because you don't want to be having kids when you're homeless. It's a nightmare. But they're putting their entire existence on hold, having kids later in life because they can't get the nest to start their shit. And that's the older generations trying to control the younger ones at this point. They've built us to believe that we should have these foundations before we start moving on to building families and all that kind of stuff, but they hold the means with an iron fist to do so. So it's like, let go, let us do what you told us to do. Nah. It's like, you assholes. So you'll see a lot of millennials and Gen Z that are particularly pissed off with older people. It's like, why do you tell us to do these things and then won't let us actually do these things when the time comes? That's the fucking annoying part as well. Controlling. I don't know how long that's going to last between, before it becomes some kind of uprising. But the smart thing to do would be to downsize. It's a lot of property and stuff like that to look after. It's a lot of responsibility, and I can tell you now, past 40, I'm nearly 40, I don't think I'd have the fucking energy to it, let alone if I was pushing 70, going, be realistic. You're really going to do all this work on your own with Parkinson's? No, you're not. You're going to sit on your couch like you always do, and you're going to sleep the majority of the day. Then you're going to eat something and shuffle around a bit. It's too much. It'll go to shit. It'll lose its value. It'll have to be resurrected. And it's just insane. But they won't let go because they're stubborn and they've had control for this long. So you can see that's control done negatively. So at some point you need to know your limits when it comes to control. Self-control. Use your logic. Things don't fucking make sense, but you want to make it make sense, so you hold on to it until it's bleeding. Like, it has to make sense. It's like, no, you can admit that the time has come for something else to happen. Change is okay. You don't lose anything in this. In fact, you gain shit because it's easier. You are officially retired. You don't have to worry about work in any kind of the way. And someone else handles your shit for you, and it's done, and you don't have to think about it. It's easier. It's like, nah. We don't gain anything from organizing all this shit, by the way. That's what I'm thinking. It's like, are you skeptical of what we have to gain from this? What do we have to gain from this? It's more work for us. It's, I don't know. There's a whole big conversation there that us kids need to have about this. It's insane. But we're all in the mindset that we need to at least today simplify. Yeah. Alright, so what can we do as people with self-control? Your decisions will reflect the lifestyle that you want to live by choice. Simply, you can choose to do something worthwhile with your life, something you deem rich, enriching, memorable. In an ethical sense, we should always be trying to reach for some kind of a legacy in life, something our next generation will remember. Now, I haven't got kids, but I've got nieces, but I want to be known as the weird cool aunt, and the rich one at this point, because I know where this is going. I didn't have kids. I haven't really got the maternal instinct to raise kids outside of teaching. My younger sister is similar, I would say. She doesn't want kids herself. I don't know if she wants to go that way ever, because it's just not particularly interesting. She's a bit more of a free spirit. She goes off traveling, doing her stuff. My older brother and sister are the only ones that actually had kids, or had that mindset to have kids. The legacy I want to create is that I was a good person. I don't want to be remembered like Bob was, who was a nasty person who hoarded money and acted like an asshole. The legacy I want to leave is a cool, relaxed aunt who was helpful, and to be honest, left them a shit ton of resources that they could use well and build their life. That's what I want to be known for. I don't want to be known as like my dad will be known, which is he was a berserker when we were a kid, and then he either slept or ignored us. I don't want to be remembered as that. So I want a good legacy. So I'm going to do whatever I can to control myself to fulfill that legacy that I want to create for the future generations. In that, I know that I need to be healthy. I need to keep running in a way that would be conducive to staying alive long enough to see out my projects. So I'm going to control myself that way. Hopefully not right now, because I'm pretty much emotionally eating and I haven't been lifting for a while. So not this week, or maybe even this month. I don't know. But, you know, inevitably when I go back to doing what I need to do to improve my health, I will have some control over that, hopefully. My finances, I need to be able to make sure that whatever decisions I make will be conducive to getting my projects up and running and on their way to become the person that is, you know, depicted by the legacy I want to leave. I'm not going to be the Scrooge McDuck guy. Is it Scrooge McDuck? That was the angry one who has like a building of money and just hoards it and does mean stuff. I know that money is like a tool to progress things. It's meant to be in flow all the time. It's not meant to be hoarded for public displays. It's stupid to do that. It only makes you sick and fucks over other people, and nobody likes an arsehole. So I'm not going to do that, but but I'm going to work towards, you know, keeping it in flow and keeping it running and all that kind of stuff. So you need to think about, if you want to have more control over yourself, what kind of a person you want to be seen as after you die, essentially. Or maybe just as you remembered. It's like, do you want to be known as the arsehole that hoarded money? Like, for example, Elon Musk is going to not have a good reputation when he dies. And neither is Trump, because they're fucking a lot of people. Obama might have a good reputation because he did a lot of good. The Queen had a good reputation when she passed through, because she was seen to be doing a lot of good, and she was calm and collected and she didn't fuck around with stuff. Whereas King Charles probably won't, because he's a bit pointless. He's always been a diverer. You need to consider what control you can have over yourself to start working towards what you want to leave as a legacy. And that's the only thing really we have control over. That isn't an illusion, because you'll know yourself better than anyone could tell you who you are. That's your personal right as a human being, a divine gift with your own sense of free will and, you know, conscious thought. So ultimately, that's what it comes down to. I'm going to have to leave it there. I'm sorry if I bored the tits off you. I do sometimes waffle and my brain's not right and I'm tired. So obvious reasons why. But hopefully, you know, next time it won't be such a boring one. And I can actually sit down and paint. I hope you have a fantastic Saturday. I hope it's not going to be as physically draining as mine. Take it easy, and I'll hopefully do another podcast another day. Hopefully. If there is a gap though, it's because some shit's gone down. You can obviously tell whereabouts we are with this whole project going on. So Take it easy, and I will see you another time.